actually don't see any reason if the committee is asked for Commissioner Hott to take the spot, not to, go along with that recommendation as well. But I did not want it to escape deliberation by the commission that Mr. Mills did make the request for the appointment.
This time I'd nominate Robert Hott as appointee of the Hampshire County Commission to the Region 8 Solid Waste Authority.
Second.
Okay, I've heard a motion and a second that the Region 8 Solid Waste Authority keep Robert Hott for the board member position requested there for the year 2025. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. Okay, Commissioner Cannon, what was the rest of the board assignments there proposed?
That would leave Historic Landmarks, WVU Extension, Region 7 Workforce, Committee on Aging, and Health Department.
Okay, I'm pretty much in favor of what you had there, Commissioner. Let's just go over those one more time. That would put Commissioner Cannon with the CVB, Farmland Protection, Planning, Day Report, Board of Appeals. Did I miss any there?
And Economic Development.
Oh, Economic Development.
Just have a few things, well, really two big things that I've worked hard on that I'd like to finish with Economic Development. Then I think we can get them done in this year.
Okay, and then in combination with Commissioner Hott's previous and new Commissioner Mance's, that would put him with Historic Landmarks, WVU Extension, Region 7 Workforce, Committee on Aging, and the Health Department.
And I asked Commissioner Mance if he was interested in the Eastern Community Action.
Okay, and are you interested in that, Commissioner?
Gentlemen, I'm interested to the degree that it'll help fill, yes, I am interested, but also whatever we need to do to make this work well. I think that there is room as we kind of finalize this list for a discussion on whether or not, I just understand that there's things going on contextually as to whether or not there are going to be any changes in the commission's makeup, and I think that we should contemplate that kind of at this moment, because if there are going to be changes in the commission's makeup in the near future, I think it would be prudent of us to actually postpone final committee assignments today, so that if there are commission member change-ups, we can capture the relevant talent and make sure that everybody's in the best spot. That can come in the form of a motion, Mr. President, if you want. And like I said, if there may be things that I don't understand about, what could happen or could not happen in the near future, but I think that if we're looking out for the county's best interests, we should make sure that we've spread the talent and abilities out the best way that we can.
Commissioner, you have any comment on that?
No.
What was the proposed tally for the boards that I would be? I know I have Parks and Rec, I have Recycling, Livestock Committee. Changes for me would be PSD and HCSA. Did you have anything else there proposed for me?
No, sir, not at this time.
Mr. President, if I could ask a question on the livestock committee, is that just more part of the fair board, or is that, I didn't see that as being a standing?
Yeah, the Fair Board asked for a commissioner there. I believe their bylaws ask for a commissioner.
I did not realize that. Okay, good deal, thank you.
And I had, Commissioner Hott had served on that for many years. About 4 or 5 years ago, I took that over.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that was the commission.
As far as assignments, Commissioner Cannon, I appreciate your previous duty as president and keeping those. You know, I do hear Commissioner Mance's comment to perhaps move these around if something were to happen. I don't know that anything will. So, I mean, I would be more in support of assigning our committees, and should one of us step down for some reason, we can always go back and reassign. But I would prefer going into the new year and I'll make that a motion myself, that we move to accept previous President Commissioner Cannon's assignment of these committees.
Yes, and I'll second the motion, and we've done that previously where you know, it's to the pleasure of the president is the way I understand the code, unless somebody else could educate me further. There's no reason that these committees couldn't be redistributed as pleases the president. So that's a little discussion, but yeah, I second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that the proposed committees stand for now. And I will note that I've heard Commissioner Mance's comment, and should that need to be changed at some point, we can put it on the agenda and take care of it. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion passed. We are pretty much right on time. So we'll go on to the use of opioid funds, excuse me, for the activity bus. And Commissioner Mance had requested that be on the agenda, and I believe he has some information there for us to review. So I will give you the floor, Commissioner Mance, to explain.
Sounds good. Gentlemen, what you have before you is just a real quick sheet outlining the cost for the activity bus system, or the activity bus services for the Hampshire County school system. It tallies up to looks like a little over $30,000 a year. They typically run a deficit and are not able to provide the full extent of activity bus services here in the county. Sometimes that means that there's no activity bus coming from the high school. Sometimes it means there's no tutoring bus. I wanted to kind of point out that an opportunity for us to help this is a carve out in the approved uses of our opioid settlement funds that can be found in the approved uses sheet attached to the MOU. I've highlighted 3 sections out of subsection G below you. I'm going to just read those out loud and then kind of have a contextual conversation about how we might be able to think about the use of these funds going forward. Accepted use number 7 under section G, engage and support nonprofits and faith-based communities as systems to support prevention. Fund evidence-based prevention programs in schools or evidence-informed school and community education programs and campaigns for students, families, school activities, school athletic programs, parent, teacher, and student associations, and others. School-based or youth-focused programs or strategies that have demonstrated effectiveness in preventing drug misuse and seem likely to be effective in preventing the uptake and use of opioids. Gentlemen, that's essentially a carve-out and an awesome lifeline for us to use the opioid funds that we were awarded in the opioid settlement for youth programming here in the county. I know that this commission has considered and discussed the Icelandic model of substance abuse prevention in the past. Highlights of that model being that in Iceland, they essentially inundated young people with activities, surrounding them with stuff to do, structured activities in which they were spending time not doing other things, and around pro-social role model figures. Through 20 years of implementation of that model in Iceland, they were able to reduce the substance abuse rates for young people from some of Northern Europe's highest to their lowest. And it's now the benchmark for substance abuse prevention programs pretty much worldwide. There have been studies, proto-studies here in the state, and I would hopefully like to see us kind of lean in that direction with some of our opioid funds here in Hampshire County. It's essentially a tool that we can use to support programs that are already in place, and that's the nature of the proposal that I brought before you today. If we have programs that are in place that could just use some help, and it will take less resources from the community than building new youth programs from scratch. And I can't think of a easier thing for us to grab right out of the gate, first part of the semester before school starts, than to throw this lifeline to the county school system and say, we'll address the rough deficit. The request that I'm going to make is $10,000 to cover FY 25 and into FY 26, and then we can audit at the end of the year and figure out where they're at with that expenditure. That was a rough outline of the deficit per my last conversation with the superintendent. Some of their staff that puts these numbers together and exact figures are out with holidays and some medical stuff too, so we can get those figures ironed out as we proceed into this year. But gentlemen, it's just a long way of saying we are now cleared to use these funds to support youth programming in Hampshire County. The town of Romney actually just confirmed that this is going to be an accepted use by the folks that will review this for compliance with the MOU. We were awarded $120,000 for the new pool project because of its impact on youth programming. So I think this is a new model that we can use, and I would like to have the discussion with you gentlemen, and if possible, I would like to move that we transfer $10,000 of the county's opioid funds to the Hampshire County Board of Education, earmarked for use in transportation for after-school activities for FY 25 and 26.
Clerk, do we have the balance for that?
We have been awarded funds, and off the top of my head, I'm thinking there's at least 45,000 there, but I can verify that.
Yeah, I believe it's 56 and some change, but Mr. President, if you don't have anything, if you mind if I...
No, this is the time for comment, gentlemen, so yes, go ahead.
So, in preface, I think it's, a good idea in a lot of ways, but I believe that there is a little bit more of a bigger impact way we could use these funds. I touched on it a little bit earlier, and we've had the idea of how we could save the school board money. We showed how the Cape and Bridge Community Complex, by us, kind of stepping up to the plate with Parks and Rec and Development Authority, how we could work together to save that building and, in turn, save the school board from having another old building that they can't really afford to take care of or would struggle with demolition cost or anything like that. So the board office in our exchange deal had always been slated to be removed, just as well as the elementary school and all of the other buildings there. But after we read the Brim reports, I started working with West Virginia First Foundation, the sheriff, and Darren Taylor and the board from Criminal Justice Board to see what we could do to save that building. I mean, there are multiple uses, but what we ran by the West Virginia First Foundation was saving that building, which would save the school hundreds of thousands of dollars in demolition cost. And just to be blunt with the public, the county's out of space. We have 8 deputies in one office. Our day report has bounced around from office to office to office. They've had sewage floods. Anytime we have to do a renovation or anything over there, it's like pulling teeth. We end up having to do it ourselves, take it off the rent. It's and at the rate they're expanding and the good that they do, if you look at the long-term effects and what it saves in jail bill, what saving that building would save the school board and hundreds of thousands of dollars that would go back to the school, and those accounts, you know, could be used for. I don't want to misspeak on what accounts that those monies would save the school system, because I know things have strings attached and they have to be very specific where they put monies, especially as it pertains to the new schools or existing schools. But regardless, the overall effect would be larger, I believe, if we use this money paired with the grant that Darren Taylor, myself, and the sheriff are going after to help us outfit and pay for that building. And these funds could be used to, I feel, make a larger impact. The other thing with the idea is the strings attached long term. You know, this is this $40,000 to $60,000 is a one-time payment. So how would, if we had a better plan of how we could sustain the activity bus over long term, I would definitely be more willing to endorse the idea. But as of right now, I really haven't unveiled this because I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch. But that was my original idea, and the sheriff couldn't be here this morning. He was going to speak on the topic as well. But I do believe that we're going to need space, gentlemen. I mean, like I said, we have 8 deputies in one office. The county is growing, and if anything, the crime is growing. Tax assessors are in the basement. We had cemetery survey and historic landmarks have nowhere to put anything. I just feel like that plan would be a better plan for these monies just at this time. So that's really all I have to say at this point. We have a grant we've applied for to the tune of $700,000, which really all that building really needs is a roof in 10 years. It already has security, man traps. It even has a partition wall that could separate the two entities. And more than anything, that West Virginia First Foundation has endorsed the idea. So the original grant has been applied for. We're supposed to hear back any day, any week now. But even without that, I believe with the revenue day report brings in, you've seen their accounts, you've seen what Darren has done in the last year, take them from a negative in rearage to the commission to have a $300,000 surplus of money. I certainly think they could keep the lights on, and the sheriff believes that he can manage his budget to help with his half of the building. Really, it's the roof, and really it's the upper roof. The lower roofs, from assessment, have 5 to 10 years. The upper roof, 5 to 10 years. So it's not an immediate problem, but that grant would largely take care of those things, and these monies would be used for operations and bills and outfitting the building for what little it does need. And that would allow our criminal justice board to expand, which would save us, I'm circling back a little bit, would save us in a lot of ways, and build on giving people second chances and being out in the workforce, paying for themselves, and also allow our sheriff's department to better combat the opioid crisis with better facilities. So there's a lot of reasons I could belabor on, but that would be the reason that I would disagree at this point. If this does not come to fruition in the upcoming weeks, I would be inclined to agree with this proposal. But I would like for all the work that's been put in to see if we can bring it to fruition. And if we cannot, then I would support this. I know that there's a large outcry from a lot of the public that the school system already gets 70+% of our taxes, property tax, and we're trying to run the government on the other 28%. But I do agree with us working together. I do agree with that.
So I got 2 quick comments, the one for each commissioner, I guess. In summary, Commissioner Cannon, you're basically explaining to the public that you have been for some time now working on a grant to salvage the Board of Ed building that's the best building to salvage down there, which would save the Board of Education dollars, tear down dollars. And the $56,000 that we have in currently have in opioid funds would supplement the going after that grant and the unknowns that may occur in taking on that building. Is that pretty much what you said?
90% correct, sir. That grant from West Virginia First is a no match, as far as I understand. So that money is free and clear. There's no reason we couldn't do both. But I feel it's kind of it's lateral money for the commission. If the sheriff is take on that building, of course he'd take it on with help and another revenue stream and another outfit that has their own revenues and budget. But I feel we would still need to look at those monies to supplement the transition, because you and I and all of us know the sheriff's budget. So basically the sheriff portion of the outfit would be a lateral move, and it would basically be the commission supplement the sheriff, unless I wish the sheriff was here. I don't want to speak for him, unless he has other plans or other accounts that he's working out of. The large amount of that money would be to help outfit the building and complete the transition but the grant is a no match as far as the $700,000 grant is a no match as far as I understand.
And then the other comment or question I had was for Commissioner Mann, since he's talked to the Board of Education about the buses. They currently have these, correct, Commissioner Mann? So this would be like a backup fund for times of low revenue for them, or?
They're not able to currently operate all of these throughout the year. So whenever funds dry up, they'll drop services. Right now, I believe that they only have the activity bus and the Bobcat run. So the deficit that they have is persistent, and the services that they have to cut each year changes from year to year. I think that this is a probably conservative mark at what we could do to get them up to operating at full activity bus schedule. But I also encourage us to monitor that with them and figure out whether or not this is doing the trick. I know that you didn't answer the question or ask the question just on this, but I do think it's pertinent, given it, both of your previous comments. The West Virginia First grants were actually announced last week, Commissioners, and Hampshire County Commission did not receive the award for the center. The only two awards that were received in Hampshire County were I'm trying to think of the name of the center right here in Romney, and the Town of Romney pool project. But those awards were announced last week. They were made public announcements. There will be follow-up opportunities for that, but I believe it's on a yearly schedule at this time for that funding.
Commissioner Mance is correct. I didn't want to highlight Mr. Taylor's shortfall, but I guess I'll have to. He was missing one document, and it was literally as simple as a signed signification that they understood the agreement between the two entities. So of this grant, he was missing one paper. And they really liked the idea, but they wanted, so there's a second round, as Commissioner Mance said, and from the briefing that I got, in the first pool, whoever was not given the monies in that first pool, almost every single one of them, other than Hampshire County, was I guess struck, and we are being allowed to reapply with that paper included. So it's literally a paper technicality, and I'll just be honest with you, it was a mistake. And Mr. Taylor does a lot, and he admits he's a mistake.
No, that's fantastic. That category, I didn't know that we were in that category. I asked Mr. Ronkin about it yesterday. But yeah, that would place us in a different category for not full reconsideration, because they just need corrections. So great to hear.
The other question I had, do we have any metrics on how many people or children rather, or students rather, this would help if we went along with this?
I don't have the metrics right now. To be honest with you, gentlemen, the reason for bringing it today was because school's getting ready to start. And if we make the move right now at a level that hopefully won't impact the fund too much, we can put these buses into operation this semester. So, I mean, I fully think that you're correct in that we should look and figure out what our impacts are. But if we took a month or two to do that, then we'd be halfway through basketball season, getting ready to start spring sports before we figured out, the level at which we were able to support. So my goal in bringing it today was, if we could, make the decision, then we could actually have an impact starting next week.
Mr. President, the balance of that fund is $59,619.04 as of November 30th.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cannon, does Mr. Taylor know, since he is in a different consideration category, timeline as to when we might hear something? Obviously, to me, it looks like they're very seriously would like to consider his and your proposal, but do you have a timeline?
I don't have an exact timeline. I was told it would be a few months, and Commissioner Mance, did you see spring?
Spring. I can't remember if it's March or April.
The second round will be spring, but for the, as he said, it'll be 1 year for the new considerations. So, yeah, it's going to be spring. I just really wish we knew how many kids this was going to help. I realize the reason school's starting, but I'm just, we're only going to get these monies once, and really want them to make the most impact that they can, so I understand.
Well, Commissioner, I don't want to come across cross. These actually are going to be repeat distributions. I think they're scheduled for every couple of years. I believe that they're every other year, but it's going to last until, I think, 2032, somewhere along that time frame.
We got the spreadsheet on that, and I didn't see it that way. Did you see it? Is that the way you saw it, Eric?
It was by percentages and minute decimal points, and I didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
I've got it, gentlemen. It'll take me a second to pull it up, but
Maybe I misunderstood.
It'll come in waves, and not every distribution will be the same. I think the highest distribution will be the next one that we receive in 2026, 27, and then it'll drop back off, and I think the lowest will be towards the 2030 mark.
Okay.
But there's still, when I looked at it originally, my impression was that it's actually, even though there's going to be some variance in the amounts, it's not like 15,000 and then 50. It'll actually be a pretty steady amount. It might take me a minute, gentlemen. I apologize for that.
So, gentlemen, looking at the timelines and the amounts of money here, my suggestion, as one commissioner only, is I would like to consider Commissioner Mance's proposal for the smaller amount of $10,000. However, I would like the school board to come and be represented, give us some more numbers on actually how many students this could affect, and when they predict they would have a shortfall, with the uncertainty of the renovation of the building for day report and the sheriff down there, which I think is a smart idea by Commissioner Cannon. If there is a sounds like a small possibility that may or may not come through. So rather than act on this today, my suggestion would be some more information from the school board, and for them to come and to represent themselves and give us a little more idea on that. I certainly like both ideas and would be willing to try to help the school board, keep that up, should they need to dip into that at some point. I do think there needs to be a limit there, because as Commissioner Cannon stated earlier, we operate with the smaller end of the county revenue already. And that makes it tough. And it makes it tough when we have to say no sometimes too to the school board. But, you can break that down to a simple, $100, and you got a parent has 2 children, and one gets $70 and the other one gets $30. The one that gets $30 has got to spend their money a little more carefully. And that's just a sad fact. So, but again, I see the need here. So my suggestion, gentlemen, would be for a little more in-depth information from the school board, and, especially since there's an unknown there with the tying that money to the new building, which like I said, if that was a done deal today, I would say let's shift all that money there. But it's not. So the consideration for the school board, I'd just like to hear a few more details.
But the bottom line is those lawsuits by the Attorney General yielded an amount of money, and I know they're trying to invest those monies and they may get interest, but Hampshire County got a set percentage. I believe it was and correct me if I'm wrong, please, 0.07 or 0.007 of the total money. So regardless whether it's broken up into smaller installments, there will be these lawsuits can't go on forever. I mean, they're settled lawsuits, so there will be an end to the money. It would just be nice to have a long-term plan with the school board where, as they budget and figure things out, we could slowly pay less as they took it over, or we just have a long-term plan, because I'd hate nothing more than for parents in the county to start really relying on these services, and then in a couple years they just stop, So I think it's a great idea overall. Let's just work towards a long-term.
2036 is
2036.
and I've got the schedule. I just emailed it to you guys for the distribution.
Thank
You're correct, Commissioner, in that we are working off of a set percentage, so you'll just kind of have to do the math. It might be that that actual payout amount has been sent to the county at some level, but if we have the calculations, which I'm sure we do, here's the full distribution amounts in the schedule.
Okay, thank you. So I guess at this time, I would move that we have a continuance of this to our next agenda. And as the President alluded to, have a school board representative come in and explain their stance and represent themselves and talk about a long-term solution.
I'll second that motion. So it's been moved and seconded that we ask this agenda item to be continued at the next or required meetings for consideration. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay?
Okay, motion passes 2-1. Clerk Strite, do you have any
I have no other business. I was
just day-to-day business we need to look at?
No, I do not. I was going to point out a couple of things on the next agenda I brought with me. You mentioned teen court and the year me, and called to get on the December 30th agenda, but it was too late to get her placed on there, and I will be in touch with her to get her scheduled for the 14th, and then, of course, this topic will be back. We also have a fiduciary commissioner hearing, recommended order that day, and we will see how that plays out. But those are the three things I have scheduled at this point for the future.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I will entertain a few minutes for public comment. Let me remind the public that anything that's not on the agenda, the three commissioners here can't consider. And public comment should further be stated that it should be in line with what the agenda items for the day were. But I do, as president, I do always like to give that opportunity for questions about anything that was discussed or clarification. Again, decisions have already been made. There's no, that's the way our small government works, and this is nothing new. I've made this statement in the past. It's nothing new. This kind of operation has been around since George Washington and Thomas Jefferson days. It's the way our country works. You elect officials to represent you. Those officials have to make the hard decisions. So that being said, for clarity, I just will open it up for any public comments that you guys may have. Do you have anything? Yes, ma'am. Please come up to the microphone and state your name and what your comment is.
Thank you so much, and I will honor your time. My name is Beth Reese, and I'm a grandmother now of Hampshire County students at Cape and Bridge Elementary School. I am also a former teacher, lifelong teacher, and then an outdoor educator in Arlington, Virginia. So my experience is working with children in the classroom and then helping design schoolyards, the ones where my children went, but then I became a volunteer and then a paid consultant to help schoolyards be utilized more. They're a very underutilized resource, as you know, and we always said, where are kids looking when they're in class? They're looking out the window. So we just capitalize on that motivation to advance learning outdoors. I was so pleased to hear your discussion about how best to serve the children in Hampshire County. And I serve now on the school board committee, the schoolyard committee at Cape and Bridge Elementary School, but have now been asked by the principal at the new Windy Ridge School to help them as they plan their schoolyard. So the good news is that what's going on at Cape and Bridge Elementary School and their wild and wonderful schoolyard project is now already becoming an inspiration for other schools. Mr. Morgan, president of the school board, has asked me to just get volunteer approved for all these new schools as they begin to look at their brand new blank canvas. I've written it up to honor your time, and I'm just here to update you, to make sure that you know the fantastic energy that's going on around this school, and also to make an appeal for you to help us spread the word as we're raising funds right now to complete this beautiful master plan. I'll just hand this to you. Thank you. Sure. Yeah, that's right. So I'm assuming, I know Commissioner Mance and Commissioner Cannon, and I assume President Eglinger has heard of, I hope, the Wild and Wonderful Schoolyard Project. I'll let you just peek at it, but I'll just highlight some parts of it. Did you get one?
Okay. If you like, I'll put some on the hallway.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Gentlemen, do you mind if I actually bring this up so that you guys can see the full version?
Yeah, go ahead.
What's that?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah. So I'll just speak to some highlights here. Hopefully you'll get a chance to read through it. And a couple things that I think might be of special interest to the commission is research is catching up with what we intuit. I started teaching outdoors using the schoolyard in the 90s. And I will say I had a lot more time with the kids. There wasn't as much standardized testing. But now research, and I can share any of that with you by email if anybody's interested, has caught up with the mental health and learning positive impacts on children, especially after COVID. What the teachers are telling us is, one, just bottom line, this is a huge morale boost for teachers and students to have something beautiful and inspiring and stimulating for both the children and the staff at any school, anywhere. The other beautiful thing is it is the bridge space between community and school. So a lot of people think that's the school up there. It doesn't belong to us. People are amazed to know that they can go there anytime the school's not in session. And the Cape and Bridge Elementary School particularly is placed right in the middle of town. And our plan is 10 outdoor classrooms, which I explain a little bit what is considered an outdoor classroom. 10 outdoor classrooms linked by a walking trail with educational signage that will then connect, and the old pathway is already there, to the Todd Giffen Memorial Park, right there with Parks and Rec. And now over to Fort Edwards wants us to connect it to their beautiful new educational trails. So imagine just at a community level what an asset this will be if you want to take a good healthy walk and learn all about local flora, fauna, history, and all of that. The second is children are building it with us. And I know when I think about my elementary school that I went to, if I were to go there now, there would be no sign I was ever there, which existentially is pretty sad, you know? But the school yards that I worked on in several states, actually, children can go back from high school with their own kids, and it's happening now at Cape and Bridge Elementary, and say, I planted that tree, I built that wall, I painted that mural. It is powerful, and it's maybe a little stretch to connect to your opioid prevention discussion, but it's not. If you belong, if there's a place that you've worked on that matters, you want to take care of it, and it creates incredible pride. The learning piece is, as we all know, especially those that have children, every child learns differently, and sitting in a chair, working with paper and pencil doesn't work for everybody. We started an Explorers Club, particularly with fifth grade children that have IEPs, in individual instruction plans, and are very, very, very active, is a minor way to say it. They responded to once a week outdoor projects, doing real work in helping us with the schoolyard this year, and the teachers are saying it carried over for hours once they returned to the classroom. That's just a little vignette of what's possible. I know, even though in the third grade curriculum doing community service is part of the curriculum, well, the third graders are going to be building that council circle over there and working on council circle type communication. So the mental health aspect, there is a lot of research that's now backing up a reduction of bullying, confidence building. Some of the girls that were in our group, they didn't have behavior problems, but they had very low confidence and being able to work as a team and do these things. So the potential, I could go on and on, but I won't. So the purpose of me sharing this now is I want you to know all about the Wild Wonderful Schoolyard, because we're doing it on a complete shoestring. Cape and Bridge Elementary doesn't have any money for this. School board doesn't have any money for this. And a lot of the energy is going to the new schools as it needs to be. So Cape and Bridge Elementary, a private donor even paid to have the doors painted this summer because all the doors were peeling on the outside. So that was a choice just for part of this outdoor renovation. But the idea of drawing in community, we had 36 members for our Dreaming Charrette to design this. Some of you were there. And it was amazing. One of the teachers said to me afterwards, Beth, this is the first time I have felt like my creative teacher self in a long, long time, because she was able to dream about what's best for kids in the schoolyard using nature-based activities. So that's my little pitch. It's getting a lot of happy reviews from parents and the schoolyard. Principal Downs believes that a healthy school is one that is supported and active with the community. And I think schoolyards in general present that opportunity. Principal Omps called me and was so excited to talk about this. They actually have private funds that have been donated to them to do a learning schoolyard. So I just wanted to mention, we've been doing a lot of fundraising, and you know how grants come to schools, $500 here, $1,000 here. And now we have a GoFundMe campaign to complete the most curb appeal classroom, which is the Friendship Garden, which is going to focus on kindness and sharing stories. It's right outside the library. The cost of materials, as you know, is outrageous. So we are just raising monies for materials, and volunteers will build it. And there'll be stone patio and a pergola and a storyteller circle and cutting gardens that our kindness club will use for random acts of kindness, bouquets to deliver. So I just wanted to let you know that, and I have sent the link to Commissioner Mance for this GoFundMe, and it would be great to get publicity. So I don't know if you have any ideas as you leave on how to get the word out. GoFundMes are great because we already have people that are liking the GoFundMe from Winchester and all, instead of always tapping into our local businesses. And we have $3,300 of our $9,000. So that's an update on that. I really encourage you to like the Facebook page and to keep that spreading. The last thing I want to say is we were able to work. She was a colleague of mine and a good friend. We worked, I traveled to educational conferences and spoke with her about this kind of thing back in the 90s. But she is an educational learning landscape designer. So she's a landscape architect. Her specialty is also in liability and codes and all of that. So she's able to speak to all those concerns, and she's just a love. But she's also based on all best educational practices. So I just want to gift this book of hers, because I have many for you, your family, everybody. It has all of the philosophy and ideas about creating natural spaces for kids that complement their learning and their development. Lastly, Ms. Omps, they are hiring her to design their schoolyard. And Ms. Omps was like teary, saying, 2 people just gave me her book. I can't believe this. So I just want you to know that this inspiration is beginning in the county, and as our Principal Downs says, this could really make our schools, well, she said, our school a flagship school, but really point some very positive attention towards our schools if we utilize, especially because people care so much about the environment and where we live and how beautiful it is, to just begin to give some attention and maybe resources as we find them towards using this incredibly underutilized resource at the school. It basically doubles your teaching space without building any new buildings. So there you go. If you're any questions.
Either commissioner have any questions for Ms. Reese?
Ma'am, just wanted to say thank you for your efforts. Thank the group for their efforts as well. I know this is community-based and you guys are working with limited resources, but it'll pay dividends in the future, and we appreciate it.
Thank you so much. The one thing that makes me really happy is so many local artists are being drawn to it like moth to a flame. So you may have seen the bridge blocks. If you've been there, the bridge blocks that used to make a wall in front of the river house, when they removed them, they donated 17 of them, and made a beautiful mural wall at the school, and a local artist, Shem Adams, painted a West Virginia natural resources mural that is stunning on there. So we believe that kids need to be surrounded by high-quality art. So that's part of our goal, too. I'll take that with me.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you for your information. Again, it's not an item the commissioners can deliberate much on. This wasn't on the agenda, but I do appreciate Ms. Reese's informational session there. So hearing no other business, gentlemen, no other comments, I assume, or questions, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.